Welcome to Season 3, Episode 7 of FountainCast, a bi-weekly podcast brought to you by your Fountain Hills Chamber of Commerce. I am Betsy Lavoie, and I am thrilled to have Kristen Milashowski and Kurt Pare here with us today. We are speaking of Kurt's second book, second of three, and it's Geizig Skinflint's First Christmas. So Kurt, welcome.
Well, thank you, and I want to welcome you, both of you, for having me here. I think this is really an honor, and I've always been enlightened by the Fountain Hills Chamber of Commerce and what they do for the community.
Awesome.
And this is just another example of it, where you're taking members that are members and helping them along when they were really unknown until you popped up and said, let's see what we can do for you guys, you people.
Right.
So, what do you want to know?
That's great. So this is your second book.
That's right.
Right.
It's my first book published by a publisher.
Okay.
I self-published my first one, which is autobiography of myself. That's called Alluring Memories. And that takes me up to about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay. And then Alluring Memories, where can we find that?
In my closet. And I'll look for it. You don't have to.
Well, I'm definitely curious about reading that as well.
Yes.
I realized on reading the back of your book, we have something in common. I previously worked in the printing industry for over 20 years, and you were in the printing industry as well. So we have quite a bit in common.
Wow.
And then Kurt, were you yourself, from your printing industry and from your entrepreneurship in the printing business, was a part of you, Geizig Skinflint?
Well, he could be, and sadly is in some cases, typical of a lot of small businessmen. Mm-hmm. And to some degree, and I guess probably to 100%, all the examples I used in there to prove the significance of his name being Geizig in German means tight wad, or skin, and Skinflint means cheap or something like that. Businessmen in the past have been really ruthless to their employees and taken away the benefits of human enjoyment and essentials of that nature. And I frequently have been called, what's the fellow's name from Dickens? A Scrooge.
Scrooge. Okay.
And of course, everybody knows the Dickens' Christmas Carol story. Actually, Geizig Skinflint was worse than Scrooge. So, every example in there, though, as I was saying, were things that I either knew business people had done, and I knew some of the business people, and some of them I worked for. And when I had my own business, I even did some of them myself. Not as bad as the others, but I used certain things that, look, paid holidays. I don't pay people to not work.
Never.
That was a classic.
Never. You say twice in there. Never pay somebody for not working.
Although Ebenezer Scrooge did pay him for Christmas. Yeah. And that's why there's an example in the book there that somebody accuses Geizig of being a Scrooge.
Right.
And he says, look, Scrooge was worse than I ever was. But anyhow, that's one of the backbone for it. But then again, the book spans about 2 days in December 1957. So that's the period that the story unfolds, and he gets his transformation through a series of dreams and nightmares, typical of a lot of from the Christmas Carol story. The next day, of course, he surprises his employees a big way, unheard of. They were mystified by what he transitioned. He took from one day to the next, from December 23rd to December 24th, when he unloaded all the benefits they could have dream of having. Mm-hmm. And that's how it ends. And he also has a little romance going in there, too.
Yes.
Because of his work habits, he meets this very lovely woman when he's very young. And because of his work habits, he never dresses up when he goes to her house to date her.
He doesn't even shower, Kurt.
And he was always late for their date.
He was always late.
It's different. So she gives up on him, and he goes on and becomes very wealthy in a small town in northern Wisconsin. And later on, he has some thoughts about her. He sees something that triggers his memory of her. And in the end, they do have a contact in it.
And that leads you up to almost having a follow-up story, a romance story.
That's a good point. I've been asked that question by a couple of people. What are you doing for a follow-up?
Right.
First, I'd like to see some sales of stuff, or rather some activity on the first one, to make sure there's enough interest in it.
So, on that note, you can find this on Amazon and in the Chamber gift shop. So, Geizig Skinflint's First Christmas. So, his love affair with Mariana.
Right.
That could be
definitely. Yes, everyone loves the love stories, right?
Well, there's one you mentioned that. There's one thing I'm going to announce it for the first time is that as you probably both know, and most people don't realize it, but I have low vision. And I'm classified legally blind, although I can see you two lovely ladies sitting here. Not as clearly as I'd love to. But I am also active with a group called the National Federation of the Blind. And they have an Arizona chapter. And they're a fairly active chapter, and they have a lot of activities going on. And they also have the school called SAVI, SAAVI, which is a school where they help people that are really blind and learn how to live a life.
Nice.
And what I'm going to do is any royalties up to some percentage of the book, I'm going to donate to their foundation to assist them in this activity.
That's wonderful.
The more you sell here, in fact, this book has got a $10 price on it, which is very, very reasonable considering the value. And all the royalties that I recognize from here, I will donate to the Arizona chapter of the National Federation of the Blind.
Wonderful. Wow. That is great. Wow. And aren't you translating this into Braille?
That's coming probably.
Okay.
Yes, it's in the talking stages right now.
Okay.
So I don't know. It will happen. I just don't know when.
Right.
But then, if it does, we'll see what we can do with you to help you along with that also.
Right. So. That's very cool. And then, what about an audiobook?
Pardon?
An audiobook.
That is also something. There's a group out here. I don't know if it's exactly in just Arizona, but they are in Arizona. It's called Sun Sounds. I don't know if you're aware of them or not, but they talked about putting it on an audiobook, but I haven't followed up with that yet.
Right.
I want to take it a step at a time.
Right. Yeah. Very cool.
Did helping this organization, is that what propelled you to write this book? Or did you have, what was your meaning for writing the book?
My meaning for writing the book was to prove that Ebenezer Scrooge wasn't as bad as people think he was.
You can always have worse. And it's Geizig Skinflint.
That was my motivation. And I think I did that.
Yes.
I just have to let other people know what's out there. Not advertising, I used to be in the printing business and publishing and so on. I have always had a lot of sales in my lifetime. If you don't advertise, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. You know what you're doing, but she doesn't.
I have never heard that saying. You got a girl in the dark. Love it.
Well,
that's great.
The problem with me is if they're winking at me, I can't see it. That's really my motivation, to help some other people in a small way. So
sure,
this is a way of doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Great. Now, Kurt, did you have writer's block when you started writing this book? Was it hard for you to begin writing? Tell us a little bit more about that.
As I said, I thought about it a few times. Writing has become a pastime to me since I retired.
Okay.
And this is the way I use my time. So I've written a lot of stuff that's in a cardboard box in that closet. But this one I had pretty well sketched out in my mind. I made a list of the name of the various characters and so on. And I just sat down and started. Mm-hmm. And there were a few moments, but I never really got into what they call a writer's block with it.
Okay,
good. It flowed pretty naturally. And of course, I went through it a couple times afterwards, clean it up, scrub it, or do some things to it. I did have an editor look at it, and my motivation never ceased. And actually, I probably did it initially in about 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
But it was really, I looked like it was done in 2 weeks.
It was rough. It takes some time to refine, right?
Pardon?
It takes some time to refine the manuscript,
yes, it does.
right?
No matter how many times you go through it, you're always going to find something.
Yes.
Sure.
That's why you really don't show it to anybody unless you haven't had it edited.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm looking for an editor. So
Are
I
you?
just finished a novel. It's more contrary to this one. It's totally far away from it subject-wise, but it's. But I'm looking for an editor right now, so that if anybody out there knows where this is.
Okay, Fountain Hills community, the greater world, because we're on YouTube. Kurt Pare needs an editor.
The name of that book is a little more adult, much more adult. Its title is Blood, Whiskey, and Perfume.
Wow.
And it has to do with a deputy sheriff in Wisconsin, again, because that's where I'm from. And he, like a lot of people, when they go out socializing, they have they get in a conversation. Geez, this happened to me yesterday, and then he tells the story. So what he did over a period of years is he collected these little incidents. And so it's really a book of 14 short stories.
Oh.
And each one is significant to the title, Blood, Whiskey, and Perfume. So you get a flavor for what it's about.
Right.
But so that one right now I'm ready to go with. And I'm looking for bigger
fun.
things from that, actually. So
Okay.
Good.
So you've already written all 14 short stories. It's complete.
the book is done.
Okay.
Then I actually synopsis the 14 short stories. And I have a very well-known sheriff endorsing it on this point.
Okay, very good.
Sheriff
Good.
Joel Pyle.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes, he's very well known.
Yeah, he's gone through it, the synopsis, had a few questions, and he said, and he wrote the support of it.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, so that'll be on the cover.
Yeah, that's great. When are
Very
you
nice.
hoping to have that released?
Well, sometime in 1923. I mean, 2023. So I'm a little,
We're a little behind. On either date, you're a little behind.
I'd like to get it out soon as possible, of course, and hopefully yet this year. I don't know. Things can move fast once you get past certain log jams,
Sure.
and then they start to really move fast. So I think I got the marketing pretty well set up on it now. It's just a matter of finding somebody that can trust as an editor.
Right.
And that's bring it to a conclusion, bring it to a start.
Okay, good.
So
Yeah, to the next step in the process, right?
I started my life in printing when I was in high school, and I've never been out of the printing world. Everything I did in life for an occupation was in journalism, advertising, writing, photography, printing, publishing, whatever. And so I never felt I went to work once in a day in my life. I always doing what I enjoyed doing and look forward to doing.
That's wonderful.
So,
Isn't that great? That's the way to do it.
well, if you get lucky up front, yeah, and I got lucky. I got into something in high school, working part-time at the local newspaper office, and I just stayed with it.
Right.
So
That's great. You had a question for future writers that you
Yes, yeah.
what was it?
What advice would you give to future writers?
Keep writing.
Keep writing.
Start writing and keep writing, because you find that the first things you write, you turn and say, Jesus is great. And if you look back on what you thought was great 5 or 10 years later, you wonder why.
Oh, you thought it was great?
And I've gone through that period. Even now, I'll write something. I wrote a lot of short stories last year, several of them. One was called The Christmas Present for Santa Claus, and another one was the interview rather. And they're just a hobby thing. I didn't do anything with them, of course. And that's how I keep my practice up between the long ones and the short ones.
Okay.
So always be writing,
So
journaling,
I always keep writing, yeah.
all of the
And
things.
keep dreaming about it, because it's a very competitive world. And today, with all the changes that are taking place, there's more books out there now being self-published.
Mm-hmm.
And the main publishers, I think, is down to a group, maybe 5 or 6, and they're hard to get to.
Yeah.
But unless you've got a name or something, So, but it's a good pastime for me. I think anybody else. And one thing I regret, going way back into my school days, is I didn't pay enough attention to an English teacher or a grammar teacher.
But that's why you have an editor,
That's
right?
That's
why you
right.
have an editor.
And so then again, maybe I didn't have the best teachers, and maybe they didn't have the best students. So,
two-way street. Yes. So you have one self-published that's in your closet and nobody can find, and then you have one that's published that's in our gift shop that's on Amazon. So share with us, Kurt, the experiences of the two. Would you encourage someone to start out by self-publishing, or would you encourage them to really seek out a publisher?
well, once you get started, it depends on your market and what you're writing to.
Sure.
Autobiography, I don't put a distance on that except satisfaction that I put my background on paper, and right now all my relatives and sisters are up there, I hope. And so that there's no market for that. Now, if you're a big name like Trump or somebody in that category, yeah, anything you write is going to get published. You know that.
Right.
But name recognition is important. But to get started, I considered that, and I did do it with my first book. This one I wanted to get a little more distribution from it, and that's why I did get a publisher. It so happens the publisher, there was over Park Place, 1 floor below me.
Right.
So I was pretty easy
That's
to name to
wonderful.
contact. That's the other thing. You got to have an agent, because most publishers won't talk to anybody that doesn't have an agent. So if you got to find an agent, that means you got to go through that layer, then the next layer. And it so happened, the person living in Park Place below me, I knew it was a woman, a husband and a wife, that she was there, but I didn't know how to reach her. And they won't disclose somebody's address.
Sure.
But they parked their car across from mine. And on the car, they got a magnetic sign that said, Swara Publishers or something like that, Swara Books. And I figured, well, one way I can reach them is to hang a bag with a book in it on the doorknob of the car. And sure enough, they gave me a call one day, and the rest is history. It hasn't, and they brought it out for Christmas last year.
Okay.
And so I'm really doing the marketing push on for this year.
For this coming year. Okay. That's
but
great.
self-published is one way to get started, of course. It's like any sporting event. You start in the minor leagues and you work your way up if you're lucky and you get up on top. And that's really what it is. It gets down to a lot of times what somebody that's looking at it thinks after they read it. And they may push it on or they may throw it away, So you get at the mercy of a lot of people that you have no control over. And they don't even know you sometimes. It's just a book that comes in the mail or an agent that's pushing it. So that's it's hard to do. Once it's successful, it usually is pretty good.
Right, right. Well, it is very heartwarming, and I definitely would recommend it for the holidays, especially from someone who works too much, right? So it's definitely a book that I think entrepreneurs could absolutely enjoy. Everyone could absolutely enjoy, but especially entrepreneurs, especially people who work too much, to take some time and read through it, because it is very heartwarming. It does make you pause for a moment to really think about what's truly important and how you can cherish it, and even brought tears to my eyes at the end, Kurt.
Thank you very much. That was very nice. It's very heartwarming to hear something like that.
Yes, yes.
And the other thing is, I want to really thank you again for giving us small town authors an opportunity to get some outside exposure.
Absolutely.
And as far as the Fountain Hills Chamber of Commerce, I think I know for a fact that you're a shining star for Fountain Hills.
Well, thank you.
And you just had your annual board meeting just yesterday.
Just yesterday, yes.
That membership is 1,100.
Yes.
I was amazed, and I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you. Yes, we have a great team.
Yes, we do. We've got a great leader.
We're lucky to all work together, and we love our town. I think people know that, and it's evident, and so we're glad you're a part of it, Kurt. We're happy to do this. This is a really neat series for our FountainCast to feature all of our chamber member authors, and so it's just as much our pleasure, I would say.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to ask?
I think that's all.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode. Please like, comment, and share. We can really share this heartwarming book by sharing it with all of your sphere of influence. So please take the time to do that. Thank you.